Hi, all. I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Tuesday, August 20th, 2019, and you're watching WGAN TV live at 5. Our topic tonight, Matterport 101. This is for if you're a professional photographer and you're just thinking about getting started with Matterport. We got the exact right show and the two exactly right guests today. Our first guest is Jonathan Buckley. Hey, Jonathan, good to see you.
Hi there.
Jonathan is a Matterport marketing representative, and Amir Frank. Amir, good to have you on the show again.
Good to see you again, Dan.
Good to see you. Amir is Matterport content marketing manager. So for today's show, let's assume, Jonathan, Amir, let's assume that I'm a professional photographer. And one of my clients has mentioned something to me about Matterport. I don't really know what it is. I just know that my client expressed some potential interest in Matterport. So I'm at the very beginning of researching Matterport as a potential add-on for my professional photography services. I presently do DSLR, 2D photos, some video, aerial, and clients expressed this thing in, I think they actually said Matterhorn, but I figured out that it was Matterport that they were asking about. And I'm just really kind of deciding, I'm just really right at the beginning of my research deciding like, okay, well, what is this? And should I add it as an add-on? And if so, how do I get started? So maybe Jonathan, if I could start with you, could you maybe give me an overview of what Matterport is? And again, let's take me out of the role of having a Matterport camera since July of 2014. Let's assume I really have no knowledge. I've just started surfing the web, and I'm lucky enough to talk to you. Could you just kind of bring me up to speed, an overview of Matterport, maybe even include a demo in that too?
Sure. Perhaps in the background, we can have Amir, as I start to describe this, Amir can bring up a model as a fundamental background to this.
Sure.
But at its basics, Matterport, or Matterhorn as some people mistakenly call it from time to time when they first hear the term, but Matterport is a immersive 3D platform. That is a camera that works together with a full cloud backend platform, which produces an immersive 3D experience for viewers. And what is immersive 3D, or as Matterport has trademarked, true 3D? This allows the viewer to walk through and experience a space as if they were there. Now, this could be any type of space for a variety of purposes. And obviously the first, maybe not obvious to someone first being experiencing Matterport, but one of the first large applications for this technology has been residential real estate, followed by commercial real estate. But there are many other type vertical industries and use cases now, including insurance, architectural, engineering and construction, even yachts and airplanes and automobiles. But again, the theme is the same. When you want to experience the space as if you were there, to be able to navigate it, to walk through and turn and move forward, backwards, floor to floor. This is juxtaposed to, say, a 360-degree photograph in which you stand in place and look around. Matterport does allow you to take 360-degree photographs through the platform, but there are plenty of other solutions in the market that simply allow you to take these 360-degree panoramas. This is not true 3D. You're not walking through space as a function of time. You are standing in place. hopefully this is a good description sort of to open up what Matterport is. Again,
Yeah, I think this is helping a lot because I guess my perception was a virtual tour, and I wasn't quite sure, if that was a slideshow with music and it was just another brand of slideshow plus music, or was it maybe 360s? And I've seen that, but this Matterport looks way different than a slideshow with music or just static 360s within the middle of a room.
absolutely. The term virtual tour gets applied to a lot of things, quite a variety of things, including plain old video that walks through a video recorder that walks through a space and then perhaps has music overlaid on top of it. Immersive 3D is completely at the command of the viewer, using either a mouse or, for instance, a finger on an iPad or an iPhone or some sort of mobile device, to allow the viewer at their pace and at their demand walk through the space, versus a video, which is at the recording device's demand to walk through the space.
So what do you end up calling this? You don't call it a virtual tour, you call it immersive 3D?
Immersive 3D or True 3D is something Matterport's called it. True 3D is a trademark, but immersive 3D is something I call it, being that you are immersed in the three-dimensional space in which you click.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Amir, unless you wanted to show me something else, let's maybe come off the screen share. My real estate client that mentioned Matterport didn't really say too much other than it was something that she was looking at. Do you have any idea what from her perspective, why she would want to have Matterport?
Well, Matterport for real estate agents tends to set them apart from other real estate agents in their listings. Real estate agents tend to report that they win more listings using Matterport. We've also done a series of studies as a company. We've commissioned data scientists. We're in the middle of one right now that show that properties listed with Matterport with immersive 3D technologies tend to sell for more money in less time. More specifically, one study that we're in the middle of right now indicates that time difference is 31% fewer days, and we're currently showing in one market that we're studying, Austin, Texas. The first study was 18,000 homes. Our verification study on that with 350 homes shows about 9.7% more. And the reason is, we think the hypothesis is that you have many more people that have an opportunity to see the home as if they were walking through it. In other words, as if they were attending an open home. You're able to walk through, and I put that in quotes, walk through a number of people that a broker or an agent ordinarily wouldn't have been able to, and they're weeding themselves out. So we have reports from different brokerages that claim that they get as many as 50%, up to 50% more qualified leads from listings that have Matterport as part of their listings. This is because people are self-filtering themselves. People that contact you after going through a 3D tour tend to be very interested in the property. They're more in tune to the property and what it has to offer because they're thoroughly through it by the time that they've contacted you and want to physically see the property.
But you've mentioned a lot of statistics, and I think I need to maybe go a little bit slower, and maybe you could help me. Um, I mean, the good news on this particular client is that she's expressed interest, but I must say, even for me, just to take regular two-dimensional pictures for this agent sometimes is a struggle because she tells me the house is going to sell anyway. So sometimes it's really hard to get her to do aerial or even video. So if I go back to her, even with some study that says, "Hey, we're going to sell this Matterport True 3D tour will help you sell the house faster," I don't think she's going to care about that because the anything that she spends with me comes out of her pocket, and she's often telling me I don't need that extra add-on of the aerial or even the video and even sometimes the photos because the house is going to sell anyway. Is there anything you typically can tell an agent? Maybe that's just not the right statistic to be citing. I think you started to move on to, before I move on, was there something you wanted to comment on that?
Yeah, so for an agent, it's important to know that with Matterport, what agents report is that they win more listings when they align themselves with Matterport. And winning more listings is a big part of the game for an agent. So it's not just about whether the house is going to sell or not sell. It's about being able to win more listings. The second thing is if you're talking about if any of these studies are remotely close.
Was there a study? Was there a study related to winning more listings, or is there something black and white to say, "Hey, if you use Matterport, you're going to sell, you're going to get X% more listings"?
I don't have one actually at the tip of my tongue here to quote from here, but this is something that's been widely reported back through Matterport from its broker users and its agent users throughout the Matterport family. But back to the point about selling for more in less time. Take a $500,000 house, for instance. A 9.7% uplift in the price of a home like that. Say it was a $400 Matterport scan. You're looking at something like a $1,600 uplift to the broker's commission, the agent's commission on a deal like that. It more than pays for itself for something that also brings in extra listings.
Well, the challenge I have, even if it's not with this agent, is often the agents will say something like, not every listing sells. So, we never can control the homeowner of whether or not, they may say only if we get our price, and then they want more than what we've listed the house for. So if the house doesn't sell, the agent's still out the expense.
Sure, it's a marketing expense. That goes with anything. That even goes with 2D photographs. Yes.
Yes. She kind of looks at the photos as well. All her competitors are using professional photographers. So just to kind of stay even, she feels that she still begrudgingly still needs to engage me to shoot professional photography, because every agent that's pitching a homeowner is pitching and will shoot professional photography. Are there enough agents now using Matterport that she's going to feel compelled to use it? Because if she's not, someone else is pitching it?
It depends on the market, Dan, but yes, some markets there's 1% of the agents, and other markets there's up to 8% of the agents are using. I'm sure there's higher. I haven't seen it, but I'm sure there's some markets where there's a higher percentage of agents using it. The question is, are you going for the lowest common denominator as an agent, or are you trying to build a book of business and a reputation based on having supreme marketing skills and talents and techniques brought to bear. And Matterport goes into that bucket of things that shows that you're ahead of your game using modern techniques, and that you are staying ahead of the game.
Let me ask the question a little bit differently, because I always try and think about marketing as three things. One is, why will the potential homeowner list their house with the agent? Two, why will the agent spend money with me to help the homeowner help the agent? And then when I think about my business, I try to be first in service to the homeowner and to who is ultimately my client, the real estate agent. So I think for the moment, I still want to just stay focused on the agent. Maybe that still means talking about the homeowner. But if we go back to the agent, I think, Jonathan, one of the things you were talking about was getting more money for the listing. And therefore, if you could actually get more money, that it would pay for itself. I'm just trying to think about the math, because in Atlanta, the average house for sale is about 350,000. It's not 400, it's not 500, it's not $1 million. So I'm just wondering if there's a high enough potential return for the real estate agent in order to spend additional dollars. So is there kind of a formula there, or that's really, it's kind of up to me with the agent? So I think what I heard you say was, in the example that you gave, that if the house sold for an extra $1,600 and the agent had paid me $400, then that was kind of making doubled their money. Is that right? Invest 400 with me and maybe make close to 800 or 1,000.
Right.
So they could maybe double or a little bit more than double. Is there any sense of experience with other photographers that they're able to help pitch Matterport true 3D virtual tours to agents as a way to get more money for the listing?
The typical way that Matterport photographers have pitched Matterport to agents has been on the winning more listings angle. We are attempting, by bringing more data to bear, by looking at the so-called Matterport effect, trying to bring in another angle for our photographers to bear. And that is in fact the genesis of these studies that are now being run, that will be out and published by the end of this year.
Okay, end of 2019. I think the second piece of statistics you were quoting was about there is part of a study that's been done that typically a listing that uses Matterport sells for more money than a listing that doesn't, if I heard that correctly.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And you were talking about faster, which the listing selling faster. I'm not sure that mattered to me. It might matter to the homeowner, but in some markets that are hot, Atlanta seems to be a pretty hot market. It's one of those, the listing's going to sell regardless. So I think one of the things you were talking about, excuse me, was leads. Is there something statistically about a agent that uses Matterport is on average going to get X% more leads than they normally? Because my agent does care about leads.
Yeah, there have been various reports from different agents and different brokerages about leads that they've received. You can check on Matterport.com under the real estate section that report this Matterport effect from leads. Also with apartments as well. For instance, apartments.com report 49% greater lead flow as a result of using Matterport in the apartment segment. So not just in real estate listings, but also in apartment listings as another example. So there is an effect that immersive 3D has on various segments over just having 2D still photography or video only on websites.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I had some angst about, you mentioned that potential homeowners, let's say home buyers, looking at Matterport may screen out, say, oh, don't need to visit that house. It's not for me. I can immediately tell. So, do you have any experience with agents where agents push back on that? Because it seems like they want, excuse me, I often have the sense that my agent really doesn't care about whether that person's buying the house or not. They just really want to spend time with that person who's looking at the house, maybe looking at their listing, because the more time that they spend together might be that they pick up a good lead. So is this, I don't know how to ask the question, for every lead that they don't get, do they end up getting more leads because they did use Matterport?
Right. I think I understand your question. This is a philosophical difference. There are agents, I've been in marketing and sales my whole career. I see this philosophical difference in many different industries. Some people want to see any and all names that might flow through to see if there's any remote possibility whatsoever. Other philosophies are let the technology do the qualification as much as possible, and let me see the most qualified list as possible to make my time as valuable as possible. Matterport is for the latter crowd. The idea is that folks that are looking at your website and doing 3D tours are self-selecting themselves out. The 2D photography might have the kitchen look big and expansive, for instance, but when they're in the 3D tour, it might give them a more realistic picture of what it looked like. You might actually you might have actually had to do a roll out to the home to do a whole tour, only to find out that very same thing, the kitchen's too small, and this wasn't the right home for that family. Whereas the 3D tour could have helped self-select out that property. One philosophy is, it was a waste to meet with that family. The other philosophy is maybe I can turn them on to another property. So it depends how you want to run your business. Personally, if my goal is to sell a home, I want to meet those that have selected themselves in as quickly as possible on the property that I'm trying to sell what's on the truck.
Yeah, I think for me, in terms of helping, excuse me, in terms of helping our clients, the things that I see for our agent is, can I help the agent get more leads because someone sees her listings with our photography and says, oh, that agent, I can tell they've hired a really terrific photographer. That's something for me. Can I help the agent from those leads get more listing presentations?
Right.
So I'm giving you the things that are important to me, to my agent. Maybe you could work with this and tell me your thoughts on it. So can I, from those leads, for the agent, is to get the agent more listing presentations. She's a home seller agent. And then from those listing presentations, can she actually win more of the listing presentations? And then ultimately, I'd like to be able to see our client trade up to get bigger listings, bigger premium listings, not bigger in size, but necessarily, but houses itself for more money, knowing that for me, she'd have more money to spend with me because she's doing bigger premium listings. So, to some extent, she's interested in being a little bit forward thinking and tech savvy. And I think that's true of some of our younger agents. Hate that it's an age thing, but I tend to see that our younger agents, clients tend to gravitate more towards technology. Of the things that I've said, do any of those resonate as far as Matterport checking the box to help an agent?
Yeah. Yes, they do. Winning more listings from the same agent, moving up property classes, that does ring a bell. Yeah, and resonates well with what we see.
And is this, and maybe it's the question for Amir. I noticed you've been with Matterport, I think almost 4 years, been there.
Close, yeah, 3.5 years.
3.5 years, in a variety of roles that probably have put you in close conversations with photographers. Is Matterport, is it hard to shoot? Is there much on the way of post-production?
So it's not difficult to shoot. It certainly doesn't require a steep learning curve. It is very much automated, but there is still some things that you're going to want to do to kind of come out with the best scan possible, right? So
how many houses do I have to shoot before I feel like I know what I'm doing?
I would say if you're looking at pretty much just doing real estate, a handful of houses in your set, there isn't really that much difference between the two. If you're jumping verticals and doing, insurance, then that's going to be a slightly different set of skills. Do things a little bit differently, and again, another 1 or 2 scans there, and you've got that taken care of. Same thing with AEC and construction. Larger spaces, open, large rooms, requires maybe things like April tags to do some more visual alignment. But again, you do a couple scans there, and you're good to go. So really
most of our bread and butter is residential and commercial real estate. I'd love to see if we could grow our photography business in some other categories, but really for the moment, if I decide to pull the trigger and get Matterport, initially it would be because I think I have a client that would be my initial client for it. So right. I'm just kind of wondering, if I shoot 3 houses, do I feel like I've mastered it? Do I need to shoot 10? Does it take me 100 before I actually have proficiency in it?
I would say between 2 and 5, and you should be proficient. Like with any skill, the more you do, the better you get at it. The more you come prepared to the house, you can more quickly walk through the house, make sure everything is as it should be before you even get started. You become more efficient the more you do it. Again, like with any skill. So.
Mm-hmm. Our typical listing for this agent, 3,500, 4,000 square feet. Does this take a full day to shoot? How long does this take to do this?
So with something like the Pro 2, I would estimate about 40-ish minutes per 1,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm. So 3,000 square foot home. I'm not sure I can do the math, but that would be.
You're looking at about 2 hours and 10, 15 minutes, 2 hours to 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Plus some setup time, I guess, in addition to that, or are you factoring setup time too?
No, that pretty much factors in the setup time. The setup isn't too bad. Setting up the camera is a 1-button push. Stick it on the tripod and you're good to go.
And my agent wants everything immediately. Does this take like a week to turn around, or it looks pretty complex? How long does it take from the time I shoot it to the time I can deliver it to the client?
So once you're done shooting, all the model data is located on your iPad. You can, if you have cell network, you can even on your way back to the office begin uploading. I don't personally feel that's necessary. Once you get back to your home or office, hook up to Wi-Fi, send all your data to your account, and it can take, again, it completely depends on several factors. So there's no way of gauging a precise ETA, but up to 8 hours with a very typical scan if you're doing, like you said, 4,000 square feet. But really, really large spaces can potentially take longer.
I'm still not sure I understand. So if my listing is 4,000 square feet, I get back to my house or my office, we have high-speed internet in both locations.
Okay.
I upload it. How long is it going to take to upload, and will it be ready in the morning?
I would say 4,000 square feet is going to take you about 150 to 170 scan positions. So with something like the Pro 2, you're looking at between 3 and 3.5 gigabytes worth of information. How long is that going to take? Again, it totally depends on your internet connection, but like you said, you have a pretty fast connection. I'm guessing shouldn't take more than 10, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, it might be faster for us. We're lucky enough to have home and office with I think it's like gigabyte service or something.
That's great.
About 750 up and down most of the time. So
you are very fortunate there.
Okay, so so that's not going to slow me.
That's not a time factor right there. Then once it's up in your account, it is churning through a processing engine that's completely automated. So it can take anywhere between half an hour for a few scans, up to 8 hours for something like a 4,000 square foot place.
So if I'm doing a house, it's going to be typically ready in the morning. When I wake up, it's going to be ready.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Okay. And can I deliver it to the client as is, or do I need to then do something?
That is kind of between you and your client. It is ready to go. As it's processing, we generate snapshots for you. So we already capture a lot of images that the machine feels are good pictures that you would want to use in marketing, advertising. If they're not, you can certainly go in and take whatever snapshot that you want, that better suits your needs, as well as short video clips that can be used as teasers and different things like Instagram, Facebook, and so on that can link back to the entire model. So a lot of assets are created for you that you can just deliver right away as soon as it's done.
And are other photographers charging for those other assets, or are they just delivering the Matterport space and their DSLR images?
It really varies. So it completely depends on whether you're a photographer that is going to host the model and sell that to the agent directly. So your client is the agent, or is your client really the broker who has an account themselves and you're just uploading to their account, at which point they should probably be trained up on things like workshops so they can do minor edits. But once they've paid you to do the scanning process, it's really their asset and they can do with it what they want and your hands are free.
Mm-hmm. I saw that you did this series on WGAN TV Live at 5, where you did 5 days of training for Matterport Workshop 3.0. I haven't had a chance to watch that show. I understand I can go back into the forum and see that. But is there that seems like a lot of time just to train on Workshop. Is there a lot of post-production to do, or is this truly I either can deliver it as is, or I can trick it out as much as I want?
It's up to you, as between you and your client. So it doesn't have to be a lot of post-production work. It can be very simple. It can be a matter of just pulling a couple images, if you feel like the ones that are automatically captured are good enough, that's great. Throw them in a highlight reel and you're done. You can then take it a step further if you'd like, add some matter tags with potentially embedded images of close-ups, different things like granite countertops, fireplace, so on and so forth, and just highlight those aspects of a home, for example.
Can I charge more money for all this stuff you're describing? Do agents pay? I have real estate agents that just, I mean, like the agent that's kind of sending me to think about Matterport. So she's kind of tight on dollars. So
Sure.
the things that you're talking about, are these optional extra add-ons, or do some of your photographers include them when they deliver, or do some photographers don't do any of this and just deliver the basic Matterport tour?
It spreads all of that. So it just depends. And you as a business owner can decide, look, I'm going to do the scan for X number of dollars. And if you'd like to get an extra add-on where I go in and really jazz it up for you, it'll be, I don't know, another Y dollars, $100 for whatever, however much, you feel is necessary. But yeah, so it's also going to change, I'm guessing, between the different areas. And if you're in Atlanta and houses sell without a problem, then yeah, maybe your agent, for them it's not worth it to have matter tags highlighting aspects of a home, in which case why bother putting them in there.
I'm guessing that the only reason to bother is if as Jonathan said, I can maybe have the agent think about Matterport not as a tool to sell the house that we've scanned, but as the tool to get the next listing.
Right.
So I think there's a big difference there, that absolutely, for the agent who already has gotten the listing, they typically want to spend the least amount of money. But if I can get the agents thinking about how they're going to use aerial or video or whatever, Matterport, TrueD, virtual tours to get the next listing, that I think is where it really becomes exciting, because that's where my client has got money to spend.
Right.
Jonathan, I heard Amir mention an iPad. I imagine I need a tripod. So I need an iPad, a tripod, the camera. What else do I need to do this?
You need a clamp for the top of your tripod that specifically fits the camera itself. You have camera selection that you make. There are several different cameras that you could use. Our Pro 2 camera
is there some pictures? Amir was sharing that tour. Maybe he's got some pictures of cameras. I just barely glanced and noticed there were some different choices of cameras. So I was a bit confused, because I saw a camera that was under $400, another camera that was under $500, another camera that was under $1,000. I think there was one for under $3,500, and then there was one that I think it was under $20,000. No way I'm going to spend $20,000 on my real estate agent's listing. So can you? I'm kind of inclined to get started. Kind of my bias. I figure I got at least one client that's got some interest, but you're showing me 5 cameras on the screen there. Which one is right for me?
Sure. Well, the pro photographer, the professional photographer is probably most inclined to go with the Matterport Pro 2 3D camera, which is our our pro offering. This one is at $3,395. This has depth sensors built into it. It's 4K, 134 megapixel camera. It's got 3 sensors built into it. This can do depth measurements and has accuracy up to about 1% accuracy. This is the workhorse of the group. You are seeing, yes, Dan, I think you said something.
No, I'm sorry, Jonathan, please go on.
Yeah, you're seeing the Leica Geosystems BLK 360 listed here. This is supported. This is a specialty camera for high precision, very large spaces, very bright spaces, but a price tag close to $19,000. So Not something, run of the mill, definitely a specialty piece of camera.
Well, I'm going to rule that one out. I am curious, like, can I just spend, $400 and call it a day? What's the difference between the three cameras on the left compared to the $3,400 Matterport Pro 2 3D camera?
Okay, the three cameras on the 360 entry level side and the Pro 2 camera, what sets them apart, number one, is that they don't have depth sensors in them. They're spherical cameras. So their accuracy is going to be limited to about within 4 to 8% versus the 1%. So you're not going to be driving floor plans, for instance, out of the MatterPack offering that we have. There is a limit to clarity of image that you're going to be able to get out of them. For instance, the highest rated one in terms of image quality here, the Ricoh Theta Z1 at about $1,000 is a 23 megapixel camera, right? There's only so much you're going to get out of 23 megapixels up against a 134 megapixel camera like the Matterport Pro 2.
So is the the Matterport 3D, true 3D virtual tour created with the Ricoh Theta Z1 compared to a virtual tour created with the Matterport 2 3D camera? Will my client be able to tell the difference?
Your client will be able to tell the difference. Yes. Side by side, there is a difference that you can tell. Where the three
good enough? I don't always necessarily, I'm a business person more than I am an artist. So from a business perspective, can I spend $1,000 and get something that's good enough to produce the results, or are those entry level really truly entry level and more of a hobbyist enthusiast, or if I just wanted to experiment and play with Matterport before I actually spent some serious money?
To experiment and play with it before you spend some serious money, absolutely. To give you an idea, we don't allow the entry level 360 cameras into our Matterport service partner program. In other words, if you're shooting professionally for Matterport, you have to use the Pro 2 or the Leica BLK 360. I tell you what, though, the 360 cameras are excellent for certain use cases, like small spaces, perhaps shooting in mixed environments together with the Pro 2. For instance, automobiles inside an auto dealership, airplanes, aircraft, like I was saying, yachts, in other.
I don't have any yachts in Atlanta.
No, but you do have plenty of airplanes. You have small spaces, apartment rentals, things like Airbnbs or these or the like.
Most of our business is shooting residential, maybe 80% residential, 20% commercial. I don't see us doing any cars or boats or planes. So if I'm going to do this as a business add-on for our photography service, you would recommend the Pro 2 3D camera?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And then you mentioned something about, I think I heard it was a Matterport service
partner.
What's that?
MSPs are partners of Matterport, which are they have a designated badge.
I'm sorry. Could you take it off the screen share? I'm good on looking at the cameras.
You got it. 1 second.
Thank you.
There you go. You're welcome. These are Matterport partners, which are aligned with Matterport, where when we get requests for professional photographers, we send out these requests to this partner network. There's about 4,500 of these MSPs worldwide at this moment across 100 countries.
So will you be sending me leads?
That's correct. Yes. The company sends leads through. Right now, when we receive a request in a service area, say it's the greater Denver area,
Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta.
you're in Atlanta. If you're in the Atlanta area, there's probably other MSPs like you. We route that lead to, in accordance to an algorithm which routes it to the nearest 3 MSPs at the same time. And so the 3 MSPs closest to that lead receive that MSP request.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it are there enough leads for me to make a decision to buy the camera and everything else I need because I'm going to get enough leads, or I should really evaluate this based on my existing business and can I use Matterport as an add-on for my existing and potential clients?
Think of Matterport as an add-on to your existing clients, and think of Matterport's leads as a bonus. We're doing a webinar on this very topic on September 11th about this very topic. We're touching on this very topic, but I don't see enough lead flow in and of itself to support a camera purchase in and of itself from the Find a Photographer leads, but they're definitely an add-on bonus to the business that you're doing already or would be doing already.
Mm-hmm. In terms of other things I need, Amir mentioned something about a cloud. So do I need a raincoat? Do I need a...
No, that's just where your account sits online. Really, the only accessories you're going to need are the camera, and outside of the camera, nothing comes with it from Matterport. So you will need to invest in a tripod if you don't already have one. The tripod should not have a head on it. So if you are a photographer and you use a ball head or a pan tilt head with your system, take it off. As Jonathan mentioned, just use a clamp only. We really want to have that system to be as solid and steady as possible. You've got a camera that's turning around and it's not a lightweight camera.
Okay.
So
and
a
does
tripod,
that,
clamp, camera, and iPad or
is
iPhone.
there something on your desktop you're showing us there, Jonathan? Okay.
I'm bringing up the cloud options. I think that's where you were going, Dan.
Yes, please. Thank you. So how much to get started? So it doesn't cost me anything to get started? That says entry level. Okay, I got to get the pro camera for what I'm doing. So it looks like the first plan entry level would be $69 a month for me.
Yes, and should you have one of the 360 cameras already, feel free to attach it to Matterport under a free account and try Matterport out for free. So, you know, a Theta V or an Insta 360 1X, or if you happen to have a Theta Z1, you can do that for free. Likewise, from there you can move up to a starter program. But if you are starting out with a Pro 2, you would start with a professional plan, which starts at $69 a month. It's compatible with all the cameras, but in this case, we're talking about the Pro 2. You can have 5 users and up to 25 active models and an unlimited number of total models. So in other words, you could have 1,000 models, but 25 of them active, meaning that they're alive, viewable, shareable, and active on the web.
Okay, cool. I don't see anything there about processing or anything. It's just it's $69 a month, and I can upload an unlimited number of tours, and it's just based on a cap of up to 25.
That's correct.
Do I immediately jump to 129 when I have 26 active models?
That's correct. And we used to have an older pricing model, used to have additional charges in addition to what used to be $49 a month at the starter rate. used to charge extra for processing a model, used to charge extra for things like large spaces or anything with more than 100 scans per model. Perhaps that large house example we talked about earlier, where Amir thought there would be 170 scans, would be considered a large model. Those go away under this plan in an attempt to make it simpler and more easily budgeted. So $69 covers it all. If you're uploading and processing dozens of models, and if they're all large, it doesn't matter. It's still $69 a month.
Okay. Can you take it off screen share? I get it in terms of numbers. It seems pretty straightforward. I think I need to go create a little spreadsheet and figure out how many of these I could do. And is there any guidance on price? I think I heard you mention something about $400 in an example. What are do you have any thoughts on what photographers are actually getting in a market like Atlanta?
This is something we're covering on September 11th's webinar again, but sneak peek is we've done a survey of our MSPs, and it looks like the average in the United States in the residential market is right around 10 cents a square foot for your average size home. There are markets where there have been MSPs that have swamped out the market, where photographers have gone for the so-called $99 specials. There are some regions in, say, Florida and Michigan where we've seen this. This is not typical. This is where the rates are very, very low. For the most part, 10 cents plus or minus 3 cents is about where people are tending to price these things if you were to come up with a good model.
Okay, so for the purpose of me putting together a little pro forma budget, I might start with 10 cents a square foot, knowing that my average listing is 3,500, 4,000 square feet. So you're talking about $350, $400. I guess I just have to figure out whether I can get clients to say yes to that. I think if I heard correctly, the components of cost was the Matterport Pro 2 3D camera, a tripod I got, the little clamp to attach the camera to the tripod. I get it. That's not going to be too much. I needed an iPad. I guess I could use one of my existing iPads. Any reason?
And no, you can use one of your existing as long as it's, I would say, for the iPad, I mean, ideally the iPad 6, the sixth generation iPad or better. Any of the iPad Pros is great. iPad Airs are good. Sixth generation iPad.
The most recent iPads, does that affect how fast it scans or how fast something happens?
Not scans, but how fast it processes. So it can figure out the alignment between the scan positions faster with a faster, stronger iPad, which allows you to move on to the next quicker.
Okay, so the most current iPad is going to help me run as fast as I possibly can through a house. So if I'm doing any volume at all, it's going to make sense to be on whatever the most current version of an iPad Pro is.
Ideally, yes.
Okay, got it. Camera come with a case?
Camera comes with a really nice amount of foam in a cardboard case with a nice handle, kind of like a suitcase.
Okay.
I've definitely seen people use that. Recommend.
I got to buy a case. I get it.
If you're going to be doing some traveling, recommended to get a Pelican case, hard case.
Okay, I'll look at a case. I imagine if I'm scanning all day, my iPad may run out of juice. Do I need a battery to keep charging my iPad while I'm scanning, or?
iPad batteries last pretty long, but it's definitely a good idea to have a backup. Any external battery pack that you can just USB right into the iPad. You can even have it charging as you're using it.
Okay, and then the Pro 2, how long does that last before I need to charge it?
About 8 hours. So it
Okay.
should go all day.
Yeah.
And you just charge it overnight.
So if I was lucky enough to do 3 scans in one day and have a $1,200 day, if that's what it averaged out, at about 2.5 hours a house, 2, 4, 6, 7.5. So sounds like I'd be okay for doing 3 listings if I had to.
Yeah.
And maybe if I was having lunch, charge it while I was at lunch.
Exactly.
Go fight over that power outlet at Starbucks
Exactly.
so I can be charging. Well, actually, I think I'd probably get one of those power converter boxes, I think for about 25 bucks.
Yep.
Plug it into my cigarette lighter. And I think while I'm driving between jobs, I could be charging up the camera.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about, based on, what Amir, what you've said, Jonathan, what you've talked about, I think I'm close to pulling the trigger. Today's Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. I heard I probably should wait till September 11th, 2019. Is that an event that I can go to, or was that for your Matterport service?
Oh, it's an event. We'll make sure that Dan, you know about it, and everyone on Weekend knows about it. We just haven't announced it yet. It's how to build a thriving 3D photography business, actionable insights from our top MSPs, and it's we've done a series of 4 studies based on our top MSPs, what their marketing and sales behaviors have been. Everything from website design to different closure rates, what their closure rates have been, and that sort of thing. So we've found that there's some good bit of data in there that I think everyone will take something good away from it.
Terrific. Okay, when I'm ready to buy, and I think I'm pretty close to pulling the trigger, probably be the day after September 11th then, is there any, do I need to talk to somebody to buy it? Do I go to a website to buy? How do I actually go buy the camera and the Matterport cloud account?
Well, you can go to Matterport.com and you can click on the buy button up top. There's also an 800 number, which you can also find on the site if you feel more comfortable talking to somebody through the whole process, which is more than acceptable. We have numbers set up in the US and in multiple countries. You will see the numbers also set up on the site.
I do have some photography friends all around the globe. Is it the same process for them? Do they go to Matterport.com, or are there 800 numbers in London, Melbourne?
Yes, there are numbers in different places around the globe. You'll see those set up on the site, or alternatively,
maybe Amir, could you show me what page I would go to actually buy the camera in a cloud account? Maybe where all the phone numbers are. So maybe if you could start out on Matterport.com. I always have some concern about, buying something and then like the next day, the next generation camera comes out. Are you all working on a Matterport Pro 3 3D camera? And as soon as I buy my 2, going to be surprised that a new camera just comes out?
Foundational work is being done, but it's going to be a long time. It's like waiting for any technology, Dan. Even with Canon and Nikon cameras, every year they're going to come out with a new one. So you're going to wait another year to get the latest and greatest, right? It's more about the business and what's best, to get that going. So I would say, don't wait. It's going to be a long time.
Long time. Okay. So I see that you're on Matterport.com. There's a button up in the top right that says shop. So I go there and
There's
then
the 800 number here, by the way.
Okay.
And shop button up here.
How did I find the 800 number?
It's right at the top.
Okay. And then now you clicked on that shop button, and on the left it says subscription plans and cameras.
Yep, right here.
Okay,
So
if you click on that to see pricing and order now,
that'll take you to
So
select your
here's the
cameras.
Pro 2 for $3,400. And so then I just click on that button to increase the number for my shopping cart, and then click on the professional $69 a month.
Select this one. Here is where you would select whether you want the 25 or 50 active.
Yeah, I just start with 25. When I get
Five.
26, I'll know that I need to upgrade.
Right,
And then I just go down to add to cart. Is it that easy?
it's that easy. Done.
It's that easy. Monthly subscription.
Down here at the bottom.
Okay. And then if I go ahead and I complete this purchase and in 2 weeks decide that this is just not for me, I didn't like the process of how the scanning works or something, can I send it back?
Absolutely. We have a 30-day money back guarantee.
Okay.
So you will get the $3,400 for the camera back. Unfortunately, that will not be the same for the cloud.
Okay. Whatever I spent monthly, I don't get that back. And then I see in the bottom right there a help button. Is that to talk to somebody?
Yeah. So this you can use. Hang on a second. I've got a little thing in the way. So you can use this to ask some questions regarding any questions that you may have.
Okay. And then Jonathan mentioned some 800 numbers. If I really want to talk to somebody, where do I find them on this page?
Good question on this page.
What? I'm sorry, Dan. What is the question?
Where are all the 800 numbers? If I decide I don't want to do this live chat.
Okay. Yeah. So in the help, if you, it's not just a kind of a lookup for your question, but if you don't find your question once you've asked it, there is a live chat option that you can chat.
Yeah,
with.
but if I don't want to do the live chat
You
online,
don't want to do the live chat, and you'd rather
is there
go.
some phone numbers to talk to someone?
Yeah. So if you go back here, this should know my location in the world and present.
Okay, so my friends in London and Melbourne and Paris, if they go to the website, then it's going to show the appropriate number for them in their area.
Yes.
And then presumably is the live chat in the appropriate language where they are?
It depends. So live chat right now, we've got a few. I don't see any numbers at the bottom. I was hoping we could have some numbers regardless of your location at the bottom, but they're not there. So as far as the live chat, we have out of our London location, our UK team has German, Spanish, and French covered. And here in the US, we have, I believe, mostly just English and Spanish covered.
Okay, great. If you could take it off screen share, that would be great. So thank you very much. I'll come out of character of someone who doesn't have a Matterport camera, but has been thinking about getting one. So thanks so much, Jonathan and Amir. I don't know, what would the word be? Entertaining my desire to go into theater, I suppose. I don't know. Before we wrap up, Jonathan, anything to add?
No, I think we just about covered it. I mean, there are plenty of reasons for a photographer to add this to their book of business already. Our photographers report, the majority report that this adds more revenue per client on average. It's a new tool that's growing quickly and should add great deal of interest to your client base, and it's something to consider.
Amir, anything to add?
No, that pretty much does it.
Terrific. So Jonathan, thanks so much for being on the show today. I appreciate it. Jonathan Buckley is a Matterport marketing representative. Amir, thank you for being on the show today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Dan.
Amir Frank is a Matterport Matterport content marketing manager, and you all, where are you today?
Sunnyvale, California.
Sunnyvale, and I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. So If you've missed any portion of today's show, as we do for all our WGAN TV Live at 5 shows, we do record them and we do place them in the We Get Around Network forum the next day. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel or many other places, you can actually watch WGAN. I invite you to the We Get Around Network forum, wegetaroundnetworkforum.com or WGANforum.com. And feel free to answer questions. Jonathan, I know, is a member of the We Get Around Network forum. Thank you. And is always happy to answer questions as well as other members of the community. So Jonathan, thanks again. Amir, thanks again. I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network forum for WGAN TV. Thanks for tuning in.